I think we actually might have just seen the worst call in the entire history of sport. And like, this is a shock that it is actually not DiJonai Carrington committing a flagrant foul. DiJonai Carrington got flagrantly fouled.
DiJonai Carrington just discovered what happens when karma catches up to you live on national television. She was the victim of one of the most bizarre and incorrect foul calls of the entire WNBA season, a moment that should have sparked outrage, but it didn't. Instead of sympathy, she was met with a wave of online celebration. She was standing perfectly still when an opponent barreled into her from behind like a freight train. The whistle blew, and somehow the foul was called on her.
DiJonai, DiJonai, you're always in a dirty play. DiJonai, DiJonai, once again, here we are today. Oh, DiJonai, DiJonai.
The reaction wasn't just muted, it was savage. Fans were openly cheering for the injustice, posting that she finally got what she deserved. This wasn't just a bad call, it was a defining moment that exposed her as the league's #1 villain. And that begs the question, how did one player become so disliked that a blatant officiating error against her felt like poetic justice? The answer is a story of cheap shots, league-wide controversy, and a reputation that finally came back to bite her.
So the ball gets swung, Janelle Salon shoots the ball. It's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out. So, DiJonai Carrington is just shielding the ball out of bounds. She's just shielding the ball out of bounds, as you do. And Tiffany Hayes tackles her to the ground. Tackles her to the ground.
In any normal circumstance, a player getting hit with a call that horrendous would receive an immediate wave of support. Fans, analysts, and even rival supporters would flood social media with replays, calling out the officiating disaster and demanding accountability. But this was not a normal circumstance, and DiJonai Carrington is not just any player. Instead of outrage on her behalf, the internet erupted with something else entirely, pure, unadulterated celebration. The online reaction was fast, unfiltered, and absolutely savage.
Does not look nor play like she's 35. Okay, she be bringing it to them girls each and every night. She got that, acting like that face harness, okay, like to protect her face, her eyes, her nose, whatever that is. She be look like a dominatrix to me. I'd be like, bro, who is that? She looks like, it's giving scarecrow, or like a black raven vibe, okay, like a hawk. And she looks like a bird of prey, okay? And that's how she plays. She plays like a bird of prey, while the other girls in the court are just worms to her, okay? They are bird food, because she be cooking and eating everybody.
This reaction wasn't a random act of fan cruelty. It was a receipt for a long list of controversial moments that had branded Carrington as the WNBA's #1 villain. The origin of this narrative can be traced back to one infamous play that shook the league, the eye poke on Caitlin Clark. On a massive national stage, Carrington's hand made contact with Clark's face in a move many viewed as a deliberate cheap shot against the league's biggest star. The league's shocking failure to call a flagrant foul or issue any fine ignited a firestorm and cemented Carrington's reputation.
And was able to draw a foul. I'm like, what is this? I mean, she almost deleted freaking DiJonai. I thought, like, I was really gravely concerned for DiJonai Carrington's life and health. I'm like, did y'all not just see Tiffany Hayes just throw her body up against her and slam her to the ground? This is crazy. Literally slammed her. DiJonai Carrington got pushed into a freaking old white man's lap because of Tiffany Hayes jumping on her like she ain't got no sense.
Comment sections were filled with messages like, finally, that's karma catching up with her, and now she knows what Caitlin Clark has been dealing with all season. There was no sympathy, there was no demand for justice, there was only a widespread sense of satisfaction, as if fans were watching the universe finally balance its books. This bizarre twist transformed a simple blown call into a national story. To understand why an entire fanbase would gleefully applaud such a blatant officiating error, you have to look at the long and controversial reputation that preceded Carrington onto that court.
Skylar's going down for a fast break layup. DiJonai winds up and smacks her across the head, and Skylar is on the ground having a hard time getting up. But this was something where people are saying, okay, DiJonai, this is happening a little bit too much for my liking. These hard fouls, these reckless plays are happening a little bit too much. And I want to show you guys one more play that was also in that game that actually injured Gabby Williams. Now, if you watch here, Gabby Williams is going up for a little mid-range jumper. DiJonai jumps to try to block her, and she comes down to where Gabby Williams doesn't have enough landing space. So she lands in her landing space, and then Gabby Williams rolls her ankle.
This created a powder keg of frustration. Fans watched her dish out aggressive plays week after week, while other players, especially superstars like Clark, were absorbing punishment with no protection from the officials. Critics argued the league office was run by cowards, more interested in avoiding controversy than in upholding the integrity of the game. The league's inaction created a justice vacuum. Since the WNBA wouldn't hold Carrington accountable, the fans were waiting for someone or something to do it for them. And on this night, they felt that something had finally arrived in the form of a horribly bad call.
That call on DiJonai when Tiffany literally flew over her, wild. And then if you saw Paige's face when it was like, I think like 55 seconds left on the clock or something like that, and the coach was like giving them the next play, bruh.
A player doesn't build a reputation like this in a vacuum. A huge part of the fan resentment wasn't just aimed at Carrington, but at the WNBA itself for seemingly allowing it to happen. Time and time again, Carrington appeared to escape meaningful consequences. Flagrant fouls would be reviewed and mysteriously downgraded behind the scenes. She would get into post-game altercations that required security intervention, only to face little to no public discipline. To the public, it looked like the league was protecting one of its most reckless players, or worse, was simply too inept to enforce its own rules.
So once again, DiJonai Ratchet, as Carrington is back at it again, being the dirty player that she is, man. So now we're pulling players to the floor by their hair. But what did we tweet earlier this week, everybody? Y'all fans swear I'm such a dirty player. I'm so over this narrative. But I just play hard as and I just make a play on the ball, and I'm tired of people calling me a dirty player.
But that was just the opening act. Fans and critics quickly compiled a damning highlight reel of her other aggressive plays. There was the hard foul on Skylar Diggins-Smith, where Carrington appeared to wind up and smack her across the head. Then there was the reckless closeout on Gabby Williams, where she failed to give her proper landing space, a dangerous move that resulted in an ankle injury. The list grew with incidents like pulling a player to the floor by their hair. Each play viewed in isolation might be debatable, but together they painted a portrait of a player who consistently crossed the line between playing hard and playing dirty. Her defiant attitude on social media, where she would claim she was so over this narrative, only threw gasoline on the fire, convincing fans she had no intention of changing.
Another referee calls. So one says it's Dallas ball. Another referee, as you can see right here, Salon miss, Valkyrie's rebound. Apparently Tiffany Hayes got the rebound, and DiJonai fouled Tiffany Hayes. Apparently,
that single, absurd foul wasn't just a moment of online mockery, it came with devastating, real-world consequences. This wasn't some meaningless mid-season game. The Dallas Wings were in a dogfight for a playoff spot, needing every single win they could get. The foul call against Carrington occurred at the most pivotal moment of the game. It nullified a defensive stop, gave possession to the Valkyries, and completely shattered Dallas's momentum. Golden State capitalized on the opportunity, pulled away, and won the game by 10 points.
As everyone else has seen this angle, I'm calling her in, and I'm saying to her, I need answers.
Carrington's team, her teammates, and their playoff hopes paid the price for a call that many believe was subconsciously influenced by her reputation. The karma wasn't just social media chatter. It was a tangible loss that could alter the landscape of the entire season. This was the ultimate proof that a player's history doesn't stay in the past. It follows them onto the court and can cost them dearly when it matters most. It was poetic justice with a painful price tag.
Is this? Look! Pulling players to the floor by their hair is not making plays on the ball. This is not basketball. WNBA. When is she gonna get fined, suspended, or kicked out of the league for this reckless behavior? This is the 4th incident. The Lynx incident, taking out Ariel Atkins, taking out Skylar Diggins, and now the LA Sparks. When is it gonna stop, man? When is accountability gonna be taken for her being the dirty player and ratchet that she is?
At the heart of this entire saga looms the unavoidable shadow of Caitlin Clark. It is impossible to tell this story without understanding her role in it. While Carrington was building a reputation for aggression and denial, Clark was building one for poise and grace under fire. All season long, Clark has been the target of hard fouls and cheap shots from opponents trying to test her, yet she rarely complains. She gets up, focuses on the game, and often even defends her opponent's intentions in post-game interviews.
And she ends up getting Shepard in the face, the nose. I don't know which takes precedent. Oh, see, it's the hit the ball and then it's the pull back. They're showing it on the Jumbotron at a different angle that sort of looked like, watch after Carrington goes for the block, watch her pull back right here. And that's the part that I don't know if you separate that. Do you separate that?
Ultimately, the joyous reaction to this play reveals a much deeper, more troubling problem for the WNBA. When your fan base is so disillusioned that they actively cheer for terrible officiating because they dislike the player involved, you have a serious crisis of credibility. The moment where fairness becomes less satisfying than perceived karma is a massive warning shot across the bow of the league. It suggests that fans have completely lost faith in the WNBA's ability to enforce its own rules consistently and protect its players fairly.
Doesn't matter how many times DiJonai Carrington wants to get on her social media and want to claim that she's the victim and that she's not a dirty player. The league has rescinded fouls. Yeah, the league's rescinding flagrant fouls on you because it's run by a bunch of cowards. They're flagrant fouls. They're dirty plays. They're trashy plays. Someone's going to get very physically injured. At this point, DiJonai Carrington, forget about it. You won't beat these allegations.
This stark contrast created a clear hero-villain dynamic in the eyes of the public. Clark became the symbol of resilience and class, while Carrington became the face of unsportsmanlike conduct. Fans who had spent months watching Clark get hammered with no calls from the refs felt a deep sense of injustice. So when Carrington, one of Clark's chief antagonists, was finally dealt a taste of that same unfairness, it felt like the universe was restoring balance. It didn't make the officiating right, but for many, it felt righteous. The bad call on Carrington was seen as cosmic payback for the no call on the Clark eye poke. Clark had to eat a no call. Carrington had to eat a phantom foul.
That might be, that is the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. That is actually the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. She just jumped through her. She knew. It is what it is. People will shield or get in the way of the ball and stand there. She just jumped over the back. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back foul. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back. It is at least a foul on Tiffany Hayes, if not a flagrant.
This isn't just about one player's reputation anymore. It's about the legitimacy of the entire league. As the WNBA tries to capitalize on its unprecedented growth and attract a mainstream audience, it cannot afford to have its outcomes questioned. The perception that wins and losses can be decided not by talent, but by incompetent or biased officiating puts the entire enterprise at risk. This single moment was a referendum on the league's integrity, and the verdict from the fans was a resounding vote of no confidence.
Will not. Of course they're rescinding the fouls. That's what this league does. All right? Look, people can tell the difference between physical play and dirty play. And now there's a laundry list of evidence. Look, at this point, DiJonai Carrington should have been suspended, fined multiple times over. Of course they won't. Now we're gonna hit you with a flagrant, and then behind the scenes we're cool. We're cool. We're gonna rescind the flagrant.
If you were to ask DiJonai Carrington about any of this, you would hear a completely different story. To her, she is the victim. Following a string of these incidents, she took to social media, not with an apology, but with a defiant defense. She famously tweeted that fans swear I'm such a dirty player, and declared, I'm so over this narrative. She insists she just plays hard and makes plays on the ball. This profound disconnect between her actions on camera and her public statements is what truly fuels the fire. While Carrington may be the star of this particular drama, she is merely a symptom of a much larger disease infecting the WNBA, a full-blown officiating crisis. For years, fans have complained about inconsistent calls, a lack of transparency, and a clear failure to protect star players. The problem has now reached a boiling point. With the league's popularity exploding, millions of new eyes are watching, and they are seeing a product whose integrity is questionable. Instead of calming the storm, her denials act as an accelerant. For every fan who sees the video of a head smack or an eye poke, her claims of innocence sound less like a defense and more like a profound lack of self-awareness. It projects an image of a player who not only refuses to take accountability, but seems incapable of seeing her own actions for what they are. This narrative of denial, enabled by a league that rarely corrected her, made her the perfect villain. She wasn't just playing dirty, she was telling everyone they were crazy for seeing it. The league is at a crossroads. It cannot market itself as a premier global sport, while allowing its games to be decided by such egregious errors. The calls for a complete overhaul of the officiating system are growing louder every day. This includes better training, higher pay to attract top-tier referees, and a disciplinary system with real teeth, one that punishes reckless play swiftly and consistently, regardless of who the player is. The Carrington incident wasn't an anomaly. It was the inevitable result of a system that has been allowed to fester. It's a wake-up call that the WNBA can no longer afford to ignore. In the end, DiJonai Carrington wasn't just a victim of one bad call. She was a victim of her own history. Her repeated actions on the court and her defiant attitude off, it created the perfect storm, where a moment of injustice against her was seen as a moment of justice for everyone else. While she is an undeniably talented player, a former most improved player with elite defensive skills, all of that is being drowned out by the noise of her own making. Her reputation has become an anchor, not just for her image, but for her team's chances of success. This incident is more than just another controversy. It's a crossroads. It's a reflection of a league struggling with its identity, a fan base that is screaming for accountability, and a player who is learning the hardest lesson in professional sports. Your reputation will eventually catch up to you, and when it does, it can be more powerful, more decisive, and more final than any referee's whistle. The bridges she burned were the ones she needed most when she fell.